Our 9:30 a.m. public hearing, 6.9, discussion and consideration of the Community and Economic Development allocation of the California Community Development Block Grant. And we have Ben Rickelman, who I believe will be taking the lead.
Sounds great. Good morning, board. Ben Rickelman. I'm a Deputy County Administrative Officer. I'm here with Community Development Services, Jeff Lucas and Andy Lucas, who help with the county to administrate the CDBG Economic Development Program. The state department that oversees it recently issued the annual notice of funding availability. So this is the initial discussion. And then as required by the state, we will also have a public hearing, which we have scheduled for November 5th. So we will be back. Just to keep it brief, there's 1.5 up to 1.5 million that can be for a community applying for the economic development dollars. And then there's 300,000 that can be for workforce development training. So for the 1.5, what we're considering is continuing the low interest small business lending program, facade improvement program, which we've discussed with the board in a little bit of detail in unincorporated areas as required by the program. And then the final one, it's still in some discussion, but North Edge Financial, which used to be Arcata CDFI up in Humboldt County, they have received some money from the federal government to work on developing energy systems, energy enhancements for small businesses. As I'm sure you're all well aware, that's a major issue for small businesses here in Lake County. I saw, we have the second highest energy costs in the country, and especially now with the summers here, it's a major financial issue. There has been some businesses that's kind of tipped them to a closure decision because of energy costs. It won't be a solution for everyone. You kind of make that initial upfront investment in a solar system, and then you get the savings throughout the year, so that doesn't work for a time frame for every small business. But it could be one great tool in the toolbox for some small businesses here. And then two other things. So we came to the board a few months ago for using program income. It's still going through the approval process with the state, but so that's not part of this application. So we're kind of rolling that program income over to support the microenterprise program. And then there was a request from the board to get some performance measures, kind of just a program overview with the microenterprise program, and Andy Lucas has put that together, so we'll be sending that electronically to the board. If there's additional comments, Jeff or Andy wants to provide, that'd be great.
Briefly, I would like to add that with the low-interest business loan program, as Ben said, we'll be under that component focusing on the facade improvements, low-interest loans for businesses who have high-interest debt, so we can refinance those. Businesses that want to expand and create jobs are our targets. And then one other partner that we've started working with is Prgm, and they have programs that are also designed to help finance improvements, solar, batteries, to reduce the impacts of the cost of power use, especially during the summer months when our businesses are most at risk, so to speak. We have several of them, that businesses we've been talking to about how we can work those programs to help stabilize their expenses. So we're very happy that PG&E is working with us, and one of the things that they indicated is that they too need to reduce dependence on their grid because it's inadequate and fragile. So this fits with their program as well. I just want to add that we're kind of excited about this. We think it can make a real difference. Thank you.
And one other thing I'll add is with the 300,000 workforce development, we're considering supporting the BUILD program. So that's where those funds would go to.
Supervisor Pyska?
So, what was the amount for the low interest loan portion again?
So we don't have to specify out of the 1.5 with
Okay.
those three sub buckets, but the overall for the low interest loans, the energy and the facade was 1.5 million. It's some combination.
And does that also include the technical support? Okay, good.
Yes.
Perfect. And I do want to say with the PG&E programs, we had a lot of conversations this summer when our businesses were screaming and going out of business. They did come to the Big Valley Advisory Committee, so that town hall meeting was pretty successful with them explaining their programs. But again, I think it's probably better to have that local touch here. Because things do get a little bit lost in translation when you're talking directly with PG&E. Sometimes it's a little easier to have local knowledge of those programs and see where they can be plugged in a little bit better. So I think it's great that you guys will be engaging with them on that and then kind of interfacing with our businesses. And then I'm in full support of the $300,000 for workforce development to go to build.
Any other comments or questions? Supervisor Green?
Yeah, not an action item today, so I can't quibble about any of the proposed things, but I was looking at the NOFA, and I do see a category in there for homelessness assistance if we're hooked in with the continuum of care. So we put quite a lot of work in the continuum of care over the last couple of years, and I think we're on an upward trend. So is there any opportunity in this current NOFA to take a look specifically at homelessness assistance and whatever funding streams we could get through that? Because it's great to get what we already have getting routed through COC, but I see another little segment here that could at least create potential for examining future funding.
Yeah, I'm happy to work with the appropriate personnel in the county government to pursue that. So you're correct. There's the 1.5 that's designated towards economic development activities, but there's also other funds available through the CDBG program. So I'll follow up and see what a good course of action is for that.
Thank you.
Vice Chair?
Thank you for this presentation. I was just talking with Andy before this about some other things, but of course, always the support that's given when it comes to the businesses from Jeff and Andy. Thank you for coming along with Ben and giving this presentation to us, and I hope that we can, obtain this funding if we haven't already. It looks like we're just the resolution will come on the 5th, so after the hearing, right? So, looks like we can get this work done with your help as usual, and maybe we can get in a direction to help with more, assistance, because you all have been just wonderful helping on Highway 20 with some of these businesses, and whether they get the services they need or not, or get the help they need, it's still just good to see someone have a response, and they feel good about that. So applying for this funding is always very important, so thanks.
So I have a question. It says that certain cities and counties that were eligible can submit up to 3 applications for 3.6 million. Are we not eligible for up to 3.6 million, or can we be eligible? So why are we not going for 3.6?
So economic development activities is 1.5 million. I know the county's working on the housing action plan, but if there is something in the housing realm that is applicable for CDBG, I know there's kind of pretty stringent requirements, or if there's something another department works with this NOFA, I will definitely reach out and see if anyone else can go forward on the other available funding.
What's the deadline for the NOFA? Obviously, November 5th, we're looking at passing a resolution which would let you submit the application with the backing of the Board of Supervisors, but what's the overall deadline?
November 6th is when we want to start submitting our applications. And then you have until
December 29th.
December 29th.
But it is competitive first come, first served.
Yeah. I don't know what the capacity is, but I do know that I would prefer walking away not leaving $2.1 million behind. I feel we kind of had this conversation before where we were offered $750,000, but there was $1.5 million or something along those lines where the Board of Supervisors said, get the rest. And then it turns out we were happy we got the rest because there was so much demand. Again, it's one of the previous programs that we discussed specifically with CDS as well. And so just kind of curious what the plan is, because I want to make sure, I would personally like to make sure we don't miss out on 2.1 million. Susan. CAO
Hi,
Parker.
Yes, thank you, sir. What we can do, Ben and Jeff and Andy, we can send a notice to the other departments to see if they have an interest, and then we can help them, submit their application. But again, it'll be up to those departments whether or not they wish to engage, because those are the specific projects that we've identified in economic development. But outside of that, it's really the departments that need to let us know so we can assist.
And that could be where Supervisor Green brought up any kind of assistance to deal with homelessness. I don't want to take away from economic development, because if we're just helping homelessness and not doing economic development side by side, we're not actually solving the problem. We're just housing people. We got to give them something to do and some quality of life and some way to become independent. So love the 1.5 million. Just want to speak on that real quick. Love the idea of helping out with PG&E and the increasing costs, the never-ending increasing costs. Are we looking at possible ways of like collaborative energy needs rather than just individual buildings? Because our business districts are typically in a specific area, not just scattered everywhere. Granted, they are scattered everywhere, but we have some high-density areas where there's like a grid easement that can be provided within the area where everyone can access the solar and the battery power rather than going one business at a time. You're smiling like I am saying something that is...
I'm smiling for two reasons. I would love to discuss that further, because we are looking into that and we're trying to figure out how to do that, but it's not going to be just a CDBG economic development play, so to speak. I think we're going to need to include like the area planning and the other elements of it. And so this first program the way we're looking at it is this program that we're talking about today for low interest loans to businesses is the first step towards providing like solar farms for communities that would be not only for the businesses but also for residences. Now that's a long way to go, and it's a long-term process, but we're hoping that this could start that thinking process and help move it forward. Not that other folks aren't looking at it, but I guess my answer is yes to your question.
Okay. Because I see it as that is one way to be equitable to our businesses by offering an area reduction in their electrical grid costs, so that it's not the business who got solar panels is still there and the one next door is now closed down. It's every business gets a reduction so that we can help as many people as possible to stay in business and to keep a vibrant business district rather than just a vibrant one building that has a business. Just a thought, but I appreciate that that's being thought about, because that would be an amazing way to be able to move forward. All right, those were the only questions and comments that I had, and hopefully we can get others to take interest in the 2.1, and we'll see what we can do with that.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Supervisor Green?
Yeah, just real quick follow-up. We don't want to hijack, like, economic development, very, very important. That's your forte. But to your point, we want all the money. We want all the CDBG money. So if we're pushing you outside your comfort zones on things like homelessness assistance or stuff like that, but just to point out, we should not only go for the full Monty on the thing, it may actually, looking at the appendix where the scoring matrix is, we could be potentially much more competitive if we do get some COC input into this application. So I know it's kind of short notice and all that, so I don't want to put anybody under the gun, but whatever we can cobble together this round may inform future applications in future years. So the more synergy we can get between the departments, the stronger application I think we're going to have. So let's get competitive. Yeah.
Thank you. Vice Chair?
And I appreciate that sentiment. I just want to say, too, that I do understand, and we all do it in a lot of times, especially when I go to the RCRC meetings, that at times you want to apply for, funding that you can spend, and you don't want to give it back. So I understand that as well. So if it's important to get solid funding from one source and it's too arduous to get the other amount, it's understandable. But at the same time, if you can, I appreciate that, trying to get all the funding you can. But again, death by grants is always talked about at RCRC and different small rural counties. So just wanted to highlight that, not opposing what you all are saying, but just giving that real aspect to what happens at times. So.
And logistically, we come back November 5th for this specific ask for regarding the 1.5 for the economic development. We can come back at a later time for a different resolution for the rest of the 1.6, right? Okay. Or the rest of the 2.1. Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
And we also anticipate coming in with the application, and the resolution will indicate that $300,000 for the workforce support, workforce training application. Those two applications will be part of the anticipated resolution that will come before you to support the build program for the long haul.
And right off the top of my head, to me, I would go straight to the capital asset list of things that we plan to do, what can easily be pulled out of there that matches what this NOFA is. It's already a project that we want to get accomplished. We just pull it out and instead of coming out of general funds or whatever other funds was going to pay for it, we might be able to exchange that. So that would be one potential easy way to get something. Who knows? We'll see. Open it up for public comment on this item. Anyone wish to speak on this item? I see no hands in the Zoom room and no movement in the chamber, so I'll bring it back to the board. Right now, there's no action. You'll be back on November 5th, I believe it was. And at that point, we'll get a resolution and see where we go with it.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to it. And the email.
Yes, sir. Thank you.